Hello and welcome to another episode of the Why We Travel podcast. Today we want to talk about small group adventures. We have another talk about really group travel. Most of the time it's solo travelers around the world. But for a lot of people just getting into traveling, group travel might be just the right thing to get started and then take their journey from there. To dive deeper into this topic, I have Doni Belau with me. She's the founder of Girls Guide Around the World, a woman-only tour company offering 60 tours across 40 countries. With over 15 years in the travel industry and having visited more than 80 countries, Donnie beats me there, crafts diverse and transformative journeys that blend cultural immersion, adventure, and personal growth. Her background is in TV production and humanitarian work, and her approach to creating meaningful travel experience might be a bit different than others do. So let's dive into the topic and welcome her to the show. Hi, Donnie. How are you today?
Great, Klaus. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Real pleasure to be with you.
First question, as always, is when did the travel bug bite you? What is your very first memory idea of when it gets into trouble, childhood memory?
Well, I have to thank my parents. They did take me as many places as a car would go. So I was born and raised in Nebraska, very smack dab middle of the United States. And back then, the prices of air travel were just extremely expensive, at least for a normal middle class family. So we would drive, and everybody else we knew would drive places. We'd go to Maine, we'd go to California, and we even drove all the way down to Mexico to near Guadalajara and stayed for a month. So I think they definitely initiated that sense of desire for discovery. But I would say it was cemented when I was 17, almost 18. I was about to go off to college, and my sister, who's 16 years older than me, took me to Europe. And it was the first time I'd been to Europe. And we went all over the place. We had no reservations. It was a little bit of chaos, but we had so much fun. And also, it kind of just uh, opened my eyes to a different way of living. So you don't, when you've just been in the small place that you were raised and maybe just in your country, you don't know that there's just 100 different ways to live. And that to me, it kind of just was like this aha moment where I'm like, wow, there's all kinds of different ways to live, to eat, to see, to be, to experience life. And I loved it.
hmm Now, you have been all over the world over time, and now you're at a point where you're helping others becoming travelers in a way. A lot of people, when they get started, as you said in the beginning, people do not know what to expect out there. They might be just scared of what will happen to them. Specifically, if you're thinking about, if a solo traveler, I don't know, might be too risky, I don't want to start. Your approach is small group adventures. Tell me what that entitles or what that is.
So it kind of was created organically. And I started to realize, if you're in a bigger group, so and we do women's only trips, and I also tried doing one that wasn't. Well, the whole idea behind these women only trips is that 53% of women in the United States are single. Most of our customers, 75%, come from the States, but we do have people, as long as they can speak English from around the world, join us. But when you have a small group of 6 to 10 women, we never take more than 10, you can bond as a group as well as get to know each individual person. So if you have even 12 or 20, people start to segment off, three or
Mhm.
four here, and then there might be one person left out in that scenario. So I think it's of critical importance, and we pay a huge amount of attention, and we train our trip facilitators to really help facilitate that group bonding. So you might go with us to Charleston or Cape Town or anything in between. But what we really want you to walk away with is a new friend or three, and that is extremely empowering and fulfilling for people. And it is a lot easier to go in a group for people that, like as you pointed out, might be a bit nervous about travel completely on their own. And a lot of women in particular are nervous about going out to dinner on their own. They just, men too, like, it feels awkward. For me, I don't have any problem with it, but that's not the norm. So we provide that sort of safety, that comfort. Obviously, someone who speaks the language of wherever we are going, so they don't have to worry about all those things, all taken care of. So it's an entryway point to solo travel, and it is considered solo travel even when you're in a group if you don't know those people. That's the other thing people get a little bit nervous about, and I really try and coach them through it. This idea that, oh, what if they don't like me, or what if I don't like them? This sort of, schoolgirl first day at school kind of feeling. But that is what we really train our facilitators to create, is to create this safe atmosphere. And women want to bond. They're very supportive of one another, and it's set up that way. So, and then each night you sit next to someone else and get to know their story. And it works 99% of the time, and everybody feels, enriched.
Hmm. Now, I mentioned before you're traveling all over the world. I saw you're going to Chile, you're doing Paris. So this is a very, very different destinations. Being in a big city with a group, with having an experience there, then going into Patagonia, which is awesome. But again, it's a very different. Is there a kind of selection process that you bring people together? Because obviously there's a bit of a risk that somebody suddenly finds out he's not an outdoor person. How does that work?
Good question. So we basically talk to almost every single person before they sign up. We have a wonderful group of ladies that are in our sales department, and department is kind of silly because it's probably about 8 or 9 people on our team. But we really want to talk to you to make sure the trip is right for you. It oftentimes that is as simple as, how much walking is involved, because
Hmm.
a lot of our ladies, not all of them, but a lot of them are over 50. And then, sometimes if you're 77, maybe climbing up a hill is not so easy for you. So we talk about that. And then also just to make sure that they are going to fit into a group. We do have sort of a personal acknowledgement form that people fill out. So the idea is that everybody's on board with the idea of connecting with others and being kind of bringing their best self each day. So we also say, basically these are the things that, you know, will not work if someone's, and we've all met this kind of person. If somebody is just really negative, that can be a downer for a group. So we encourage, and actually, I hope that's a bit louder for that. That was the sales going up. Um, so anyway, we demand really that everybody come with an open mind and an open heart. So, and a positive attitude, because
Hmm.
travel, I think there's a misconception. A lot of us think, and I know I thought this for years. Oh, we're going to go on this trip and everything's just going to be perfect. So we do have a pre-trip call about 2 months before the trip, so that everybody gets to know each other a little bit on that call, and then we talk about,
Hmm.
all the to-dos and so forth. But um, on that call, we also talk about how you ever had a week in your life where the weather was perfect every minute of the day, every single meal was just the best you've ever had, everything was easy, everything was on time? No. you know Travel is a microcosm of real life, and real life stuff happens. So that's why we really need everybody to cooperate in terms of just bringing their best selves. And that's when we all have the best possible time, is when everybody is there and up for the challenge of having fun, but rolling with some of the punches, because things happen on every trip. It's just normal.
I think it's very important that you mentioned that. And when people ask me, it's like, what's your best country? And I was like, yeah, every country, every place, destination has the good, the bad, the ugly. And then you have your own day where the good, the bad, the ugly happens. And I think the
Totally.
not highlighting it, but the bad stories are always the ones that you remember the best because they just stick. If everything is always perfect all the time, then it's just a blur. Not saying that things
Sure.
should be bad, but again, it's a bit of an up and down
Perspective.
on that.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's what it is. Now, you do not just sightseeing, you do cultural immersion, you do culinary tours, you dive into food, there's wellness in there. Talk me to a typical, or if there's something like that, a day in a trip. how could that possibly look like?
Right. Well, each trip is different. It really is. And I like to bring a framework to the trip, to the experience. So, but there are cornerstones. So, sort of guiding principles, if you will, for our brand and for what we're all about. So, those simple guiding structures are you never have to share your room. You will have your own private room with bath. And it seems kind of a silly thing to say, but a lot of women only travel kind of somehow we assume that, because we're ladies, we all want a room together. Well, most people don't. Like after 25, you want your own room. Even if you're coming with your sister, you need some quiet time on your own. So that's how we structure the price. We stay in 4 and 5 star hotels, so it's a fairly upscale experience. Um, in most cases, we are trying to develop a little bit more affordable, if you will, what we're calling uh, local, basically local tours. But in general, we also include wine with dinner, so that's also a kind of a standout thing. Um, and then keep these groups small. So that's why they're at the beginning. If you look at the website, you'll see they're more expensive than a lot of other trips because you have this very personalized, highly curated experience with your own room and so forth. But now everything diverges after that. So I have retreats on there. We're doing a really cool retreat in Hawaii that centered around a woman I met who does sound healing with a partner. And then we're really soaking in the real Hawaii, which is, we're making leis and we're learning about some ancient myths and traditions. We're, we're doing basically trying to turn what can be a bit of, I don't want to even say it, kind of a total tourist trap. You can get really lost, I think, in Hawaii and not see Hawaii and not really soak in Hawaii by just going to a big resort, everything included. So we do something like that. Then I'm doing another trip that is Budapest, Vienna, and Prague this fall. And the idea was to see those three countries and 3 cities via train. But the other framework was let's think about the architecture and the Habsburg period and the Art Deco and Art Nouveau that you can see in all 3 of those great cities. So I like to create some kind of framework. We do a trip to Paris that's about Paris artists and authors because what we don't want to do is go to a place like Paris, for example, which we've all had our fill of, and it's been delightful during the Olympics. But I don't want to just go there and check off the 10, top tourist destinations that everybody else does, because, you could do that yourself, and that does not require the kind of effort and curation, I guess, that we like to give to each one of our trips. We also like, particularly when we're in a developing country or a more, say, exotic location, we really want to meet with women in those places to see what life is like for women. As an example, in Marrakesh, we go to Morocco. We do 2 trips to Morocco every year, and we meet with a lady who started a not-for-profit, have lunch with her in Marrakesh. She started basically a restaurant where she trains women who are divorced mothers. They get shunned in society there if they're divorced. So they have lost all their power and ability to make money and anything. So she trains them to be, chefs, be waiters or waitresses, to be front of house, back of house in a restaurant, and they all get jobs. So this kind of thing, not only do you get to learn some of the cultural situations that women are in different countries, but also to give back. We donate, of course, to that organization, and then people were often moved where we ended up sponsoring a lady for the whole year. So we're trying to go a bit deeper rather than, yes, we're going to go see the Medina, we're going to see the souks and shop at the bazaar and all that, but what else can we do to really learn what the life is like there, particularly for the women?
Yeah, I love the approach that makes you, at the end of the day, that makes you a traveler, not a tourist, and somebody
Correct.
who really dives into the environment that you're in there. I can imagine you have a lot of returning customers, clients, and a long waiting list. When people are interested in such a tour and joining a group for such an adventure, what kind of timeline do they need to plan to get on board with you guys?
Really depends again on the trip. There's certain trips that sell out. We way ahead, and other trips that are 2.5 months away, and you can still get the last seat. Um, People, we have a wonderful group, a wonderful community of people who've taken, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 trips with us, signing up for 2 or more trips a year. They'll often meet people on a trip and then say, "Hey, let's go on this trip together." And other
Mhm.
times they'll go make their own trip and having nothing to do with this, which I really love to hear about. And they'll visit each other. But yeah, still have a couple of trips that are not sold out for this year. But we're going to have 65 trips next year, and there's most of them, we've got probably 20 still to get up. But what we do now is we put up a trip, even if it's not completely ready, we'll say reserve your spot. That's refundable. And then once the trip is
Mhm.
published, we go back to those people. And that happened recently we have an art and artisan trip to Japan where we go to Kyoto and then we go to the art islands and really focus not only on the art in the art islands, which that's just one of the most interesting places in the world to see modern art, but of course the artisanship of the classic artisanship in that you find all over Japan, but particularly in Kyoto. So that one sold out before it was even published. So it depends on the trip. Amalfi is probably our most popular trip. We also
Mhm.
have a fall in love with Paris for the first time. So what I call Paris Virgin, the Paris Virgins trip, that sells out always way in advance. But each year we're offering a whole bunch of new destinations. So it's anybody's guess on each one, really. And I just say, well, it's just like anything. If you're shopping, you see a great looking shirt, buy it because you never know if you're going to be able to get back to that same place and time. So it's usually best to sign up as early as you can. But there's still trips available. You can I think there's another spot on the Chile trip. So
Mhm.
yeah, I encourage
Okay.
people to looking.
Okay. No, very interesting concept. Before we come to the end of our coffee break chat today, is there anything you want to share with our listeners that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, I would like to invite people to our private Facebook group. So, about I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I decided it would be nice to have a space for people to meet and talk about travel as women
Mhm.
and to cheer each other on. So, in that space, it's called the Girls Guide Traveling Sisterhood. We don't do any advertising. We don't talk about our trips. And of course, on our Instagram page and on our newsletter and our Facebook and our website, of course, it's all about those trips and what they mean to us and the reviews and all that kind of stuff. But this is a space which people are joining at a really fast clip. It's one of the few areas of Facebook that's growing are these private groups. But it's a safe space that people can kind of talk about what they're worried about or what they're excited about, and then cheer each other on. And that might be coming on a trip with us, or that might be going solo to visit you in Cyprus, or going to visit their sister, and they've never gone by themselves anywhere before. Whatever it is, we're there to say, yeah, you go, girl. We got your back. We believe in you, and even if you're scared, do it anyway.
Yeah, I think the most difficult step, and there's this old saying, the first step is the most difficult when you go on a journey, and having other travelers who have done it. I don't think there's any community who is more empowering to get other people on the road and having the same experience like travelers. I'm not talking about tourists. Tourists have a place there, but traveler
Yep,
is just a different level. Where can people
true.
find out more? Where can people find more about you?
If they go to Girls Guide to the World, so it's TO, the world, not the number. So Girls Guide to the World.com has everything there. You will find our Pinterest, our Facebook page, and our Instagram there. Those, and if you maybe want to put it in your show notes, just because it's a different tab. handle, I should say. So it's GG2, the number two, the world on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you go to our contact page on our Girls Guide to the World.com website, on the contact page is an invitation to join that traveling sisterhood on Facebook. So as long as you answer the few questions that we have and agree to the rules, you will be welcomed in with claps and cheers, and we'd love to have you be part of that. If you travel with us right now, we're there to encourage you, at some point in the future, to get out there, because it really is such an empowering and learning experience to travel the world, even if it's your first time going to Europe or your first time going to South America. It is an eye-opening, invigorating, empowering experience that is proven now to extend your life. It's so good for you. It's actually an investment in yourself.
I couldn't agree more. Every trip, even me after almost 70 countries, every trip changes you and hopefully makes you a better person. Doni, thanks so much for your time today. I think that was a really good insight there, and I think it's a awesome program that you have there, and I hope a lot of people will check it out. I will put the links in the show notes, and then you're just one click away. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Claus. It was such a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate it.